In this video, we're going to talk through exactly how much it costs to make a bioactive enclosure from scratch, every single penny, and loads of money saving tips along the way. So in total, this enclosure costs The enclosure that we're going to go through in this video is this one just here. It's my Exoterra. It's 45 wide, 45 deep, 60 tall. It's the most common sized Exoterra that there is out there, mainly because people use them for crested geckos and dart frogs. It's just the most common enclosure. So it's a great example to use in this video. This is one that I've recently set up for my trio of morning geckos. There's actually 4 morning geckos, not a trio. But I've recently set it up. If you want to see a video on exactly how to set it up step by step, then I have made a video. I did make a video on it and it is quite a good video, so I'd really appreciate it if you did click on that card and go and watch it. But we're going to cover every single penny that was spent on this enclosure. The enclosure costs, the fuel costs when I went out herping to try and get a few bits, every little detail, and how I saved money along the process. So we're going to start off with the enclosure itself. Like I said, it's a 45, 60 tall Exoterra. These can range from £100 up to £200, £250 if you buy a full kit. That cost me £20. So that's a cracking money saving tip right there. How did it only cost me £20? Well, I got it from a good friend of mine, Scott, at Scott's Inverts. He messaged me one day early on in the year saying, I've got this enclosure, do you want it? I was like, oh, that'll come in perfect for a project I've got planned in the future. It was actually a dart frog project, but I turned it into a morning gecko project. It was perfect. I got it. Granted, I did have to spend £20 in fuel to go and get it, but I kind of made a day of it because Scott lives near my family, so we went down there, saw the family, picked it up on the way back. Job's a good one. So the enclosure in total was £40, including the petrol. I just want to quickly thank all of our Patreon supporters. It's your support that's helping me give a better life for my morning gecko colony by building this bioactive enclosure. Thank you. I appreciate you all massively. In the bottom layers, we've got the drainage layer, which is hydro balls. I think it was called hydrofiltration balls or something like that. Now this was a pain because I know I can go to a horticultural shop, a nursery, a garden centre, and I can get their version of the expanded clay balls, and I can get it an awful lot cheaper. I went everywhere within a 50-mile radius of my property right here, and I couldn't find it. I could order it online, but then it would turn out to be more expensive than buying the actual Reptile branded stuff. So in turn, I did end up having to buy the Reptile branded stuff. I got the BioLife one. It cost me $9.99 per bag. I actually got 2 bags just in case, because you always better to be safe than sorry. I had to go to one shop. I've got a local shop here, Sutton Pets and Exotics, but they've also got a sister shop, Splendid Pets and Exotics. Now, I had to go to Sutton Pets and Exotics to pick up 1 bag, and then he said he hasn't got no more in stock, but his other shop has, so I had to drive all the way over there. It's about £3 in fuel there, and I spent £20. However, I only used 1 bag of hydro balls in this enclosure, and that's simply because there's a pond on this side. So $9.99 plus a couple of quid in fuel, that was absolutely perfect. But then we come over to the pond area. I got a pond pump to be able to pump the water from the pond into the waterfall area. That only cost me £8 from Amazon. All the links to all these different products are actually going to be in the description down below. So if you do find you want to sort of check one out, feel free to click them. Then between the actual drainage layer and the substrate itself, we've got a mesh screen. It's just a window screen. It's nothing special. It cost me, I think, £3 for a metre squared off eBay. Oh God, years ago. And I've just cut up a little piece there that fit perfectly with that. That works perfect. So that didn't really cost me anything. I've already made my money back on that a long time ago. So that was actually a freebie. Then we move up to the substrate layers. Now the substrate layers I bought in components. So I bought various different bits. I got sphagnum moss, cocoa core, orchid bark, loads of stuff all in one. But then I also added a few bits into it, like rotten wood and leaf litter and stuff like that. All in total, everything combined, I got it from Swell Reptiles. Again, links will be in the descriptions down below. And I paid $21.99 for the substrate. However, big however, I have actually got an awful lot of it left over for a future project. The hose for the water pump, I had to buy that separately. That cost me £1.50 from a local aquatics shop. I took the pump down there and said, I need a tight fitting hose to go in there. I went, yeah, okay then, let's go and play. and we found one and it worked absolutely perfect. That was only £1.50. Now we go on to the full background itself. That was expanded spray foam that we used. Now we didn't use any specific pond one or anything like that because we were going to cover it in silicone, which is another cost further in the video. The foam cost £6.58 and I went through 2 tubs of it. They were large tubs, they filled the area and left me with a little bit left over. Obviously you can't reuse it, so it had to go, but £6.58 per tube, and I used 2 tubes in that. But then on top of that went the silicone. Now I like to go quite heavy with the silicone. I want to make sure that substrate is stuck to the side of the enclosure really well. It's going to last me for years and years and years. They cost me £3.28 each, and I bought 5. I only used 4 in this enclosure build, so I do have one left over for another build which I do have planned in the future. So if you want to see that, make sure you do hit subscribe. Now we have an awful lot of logs and bits of cork and stuff in that background. Now the logs, they were all naturally sourced. It's a great money saving tip. I naturally sourced that from a forest, treated it well, dried it out, done everything perfect to it. It did take an awful long time to actually do that and get the wood at the correct sort of everything for that enclosure. It cost around about £7 in fuel. The various little bits of cork back that I have used in there only cost me like £3. They were just little offcuts that I had lying around, but they suited this enclosure really well. While we were out in the forest collecting the logs, we also picked up some leaf litter, some moss, and it's all gone into there, so that all sort of comes into the actual cost, the £7 fuel cost to go out and get there. I think we paid £2 for parking while we were at the forest. It's not the end of the world. We had a great day out with my lad going out looking for bugs underneath all the logs. It was just fun. It was a fun day. Yeah. Now the plants, I was quite specific with the plants that I wanted with this enclosure. I wanted a big plant in the back of the enclosure to give that bit of shelter, because eventually I want to add a UVB lighting system to this. Well, the UVB lighting damages plants, or the UVB damages plants, but the UVA within that lamp repairs the plants. So I want to give these plants a really good kickstart, so I've added different lighting to the top of it now. But I want that leaf cover, so if the animals that go in there want to get out the rays, they can hide underneath it. So that's why there's no UVB over there now, but there is other lighting. We'll cover that shortly. So yeah, I wanted a big leaf plant in the back corner. I wanted a plant on the substrate that would create sort of like a carpet along the substrate. I wanted a bromeliad because simply I've got a bromeliad. I love bromeliads. They sort of sprout out and they've got like a little cup inside where they sort of store water. And now I love that because that could be an additional extra drinking source for the actual animals that are going in here, which is absolutely amazing. It also keeps the water there so it can evaporate, adding a little bit more humidity throughout the day. I love bromeliads. We've got a few other vine plants in there that are sort of intertwined in the actual vines. If you want to see how I made the vines in this enclosure, make sure you click on that video just there. We've got a pothos plant in the back corner, and we've got a weeping Jew up in the top corner just there. They all cost me a total of £28. Now that was because I went to proper garden centres. As I was there one day, I thought, oh, that looks nice, I'll keep that for future reference, and I picked up the plant. Quarantined it perfectly. If you want to know how to quarantine plants, let me know, because I can do a video on that. But I quarantined the plants, made sure they were absolutely perfectly safe to go into this enclosure, and this enclosure's not got any animals in it yet because it's going through a quarantining period itself. There is going to be a bacterial plume with every new bioactive enclosure. So when you set it up, leave it for a month. Let it cycle, give it your normal misting, do absolutely everything, feed the cleanup crew that are in there, do everything to it normally. There's just no animals in there for the first month until that bacterial plume has happened. The bad thing with the bacterial plume is it can get into the humidity that's caused in the actual enclosure itself, and your animal could breathe it in. So it's just better to just leave it for a month, let it do its thing, let the cleanup crew work, and yeah, in a month's time that'll be ready for animals. Actually in 2 weeks' time that'll be ready for animals because it's already been set up for 2 weeks. But yeah, £28, 67p for all the plants that are in there, and I've got offcuts from those plants still dotted around, still being quarantined, still growing for a future project. Hence that little project just there. You can see the big Reptile breeze. Yeah, that's coming up soon. Now the slate itself, we've got a slate waterfall in there that we did make. Now that was sourced responsibly from a top of a mountain in Wales. Now that didn't cost me anything for the slate. However, this gets a bit twisty and turny. I'd done a campaign. There was a big campaign for after COVID for Visit Wales. Basically a TV advert, an internet advert, a social media advert for people to attract people back into Wales after the COVID pandemic. Now I went out, I was given license to go out and do some filming, get some shots that they might use in that in the videos that they were going to make, and it was quite interesting. It was a pleasure to do and stuff like that. But it cost me £30 in fuel to get there, drive all the way around, get all the shots that I wanted for that course. They did use 2 of my clips in the source. They paid me to use those clips basically. So in turn, getting the fuel cost for getting the Slate is a bit irrelevant because I actually did get paid to go there to do a different project. So I'm not counting that into the fuel cost with this one. I hope you followed that one. That was quite a confusing one. We've got miscellaneous sorts of stuff like hot glue gun tubes and cleaning products and stuff like that. That'll come to around about £8 in total. We've got a couple of suction cups at the top. Now I'll put them there hoping that the morning geckos that will be going in here will lay eggs inside them and not on the corners of the glass door like they have with this little enclosure just here. One could always hope. Anyway, they cost me £3 each, so £6 in total for the 2 of them. I have only got 2 up there, and I am thinking of some other options of where they can lay eggs, where there's going to be no light and no actual, it's a bit dark and a bit sort of out of the way. I'm still thinking of ideas for that one. Come back to me in the future for that one. There is a Swell Reptiles fogging system on this at the minute, and there is a rain system that's going to be fitted into this as well. So if you want to see the rain system, how it works and all that sort of stuff, it's the cheapest rain system in the UK that you can purchase. If you want to see that, make sure you do hit subscribe. But they haven't cost me anything. They were sent out to me by Swell Reptiles to do some testing, a review. So currently they're being tested, they're doing all their sorts of stuff at the minute, and a review will be coming out with them shortly. Little heads up, they're absolutely amazing, so I can't wait to show you that. You should see how powerful the rain system is. But I've said too much about that already. And to top this off, we've got 2 plank grow lights on the top. We've got a Reptile Systems New Dawn LED, and we've got the Reptile Systems ProTen LED. Why have I got 2? Quite simply because I need as much light to get down onto those plants as possible to help them root down basically. These morning geckos that are going in here can be quite pushy. They like to jump and dart and everything, so I need those plants to be rooted down really strong. I need them to sort of start getting established as quick as possible. Those 2 lights are doing absolutely perfect in there. The bromeliad's really shining, the pothos is growing well, the hosta plant in the back corner, that's blooming up really nicely. So they're up there. Again, they didn't really cost me anything because I got sent them for testing and review purposes, and again, I absolutely love them. But we'll go through that more in the future. For those who haven't followed along with all the costs of everything so far, I've got it written down here. £135.61 is the price of all the little nuggins that are in there. Just absolutely everything that was used, that's what it comes to. An extra £43 for fuel and petrol to run around getting all these little pieces and pobs. So in total, this enclosure costs £178.61. Now because I do put all this on YouTube and I do earn a money from YouTube, I wonder if I've profited from making this. Have I earned more than £178.61 through making content on this? Well, you'll have to subscribe, hit that notification bell because that's going to be one of our next videos.